Yo, so today's question comes from G Chef dash a bunch of letters. He wants to know, yo, Elliot, why is it that you pause halfway through your deadlift? Why do you pause at the shin? And be completely transparent. The reason why I started doing that is because my coach told me to do that. So I hired a strongman coach, and he told me I should be doing these pause deadlifts, something I've never done before. But I've done various forms of isometrics, and I understand that when you pause in any portion of a range of motion, a myriad of amazing things happen. In fact, isometrics really, really powerful in a myriad of different ways. I'll tell you some. So one of which is wherever you pause in any lift, you don't just get stronger in that portion of the lift. There is a 20 to 30 degree crossover to strength from wherever that is. So if you just do a bicep isometric hold, you're not just getting strong right there. People would like to used to say, oh, you have to do full range of motion. That was one of the fitness dogmas that I believed when I was a young trainer also too. But I also learned, also from Paul Chek, brilliant guy, I learned a lot of my exercise knowledge from. He taught that wherever you flex, you get a crossover in both direction. So, I noticed that there's a lot of guys that like when they bodybuild, they just doing I remember Cali Muscle came to my gym and he was just doing these. He was just doing that for his shoulders. And it was like, wow, this guy's not even going he's not even pressing it all the way over his head. But there's a crossover of strength from this position up to this position. So you don't actually need to go the full range of motion to get strength in the full range of motion. Mind-blowing stuff when you think about it too. So a lot of bodybuilders, you see them doing partial reps. There's a lot of value to partial reps. There's also a lot of value to pause reps, right? Pausing somewhere. Also, when you pause, whenever you do an isometric, even just hold yourself in a push-up position, right? Hold yourself in a squat, right? Like a half squat. You get the opportunity to suffer in that stance, and that suffering builds intelligence, muscular intelligence. You start shaking. If you get into a push-up position, or better get a squat, right? Get into a half squat, and you start shaking, right? Your nervous system's freaking out. It just doesn't know what to do. And so when your muscles are freaking out like that because you're pausing somewhere, it's getting smarter. Your nervous system is sending out signals to say, hey, we're not sure what's going on here right now, but some more muscles need to be turned on. Also, keep that breathing going because you're used to just doing, a breathing rep, or you're used to just doing a Valsalva maneuver, but it turns out we're going to be staying here a little bit longer, guys. You're going to have to figure out how to breathe, right? So there's a whole lot of intelligence being developed in your whole body when you force yourself to pause in one position. This is kind of like yoga, right? Yoga has a lot of positions that you just have to hold, but you're not just holding that position. There's nothing really static about it because there's a lot of dynamic stuff going on at the same time in order for you to do that. Most importantly, is how you breathe. Breathing. Because if you stop breathing, the whole operation shuts down. That's why I just did that little drama about the muscles yelling up at the brain and telling you, hey, you gotta keep breathing, don't stop breathing. Breathing is it's an interesting thing. Because when you are in that pause position and you learn how to breathe in a relaxed way, it develops an easy strength, not a forceful strength. Does that make sense? When you can breathe under pressure, check this out. When you can breathe under stress, it eases the stress. When you can breathe, and this is why yoga, for what it's worth, I like it. And some people don't like it, especially Christians don't like it. And I'm Christian, as people say that you're worshiping devils. That's for a totally different subject. But when you just notice that, like, hey, I'm just stretching and breathing. It's just a position. You don't have to give it special names or whatever. You're not praying to any gods. But if you're just holding a position, right, like a downward dog, which literally my dog does downward dog. And I know he's not worshiping demons. He's just doing what a dog does, which just goes downward, right? He reaches out when he sees me. He does that. He's got his hands on the ground. You hold yourself in a downward dog, and you, in order to stay there and not have to strain, because if you're a bodybuilder, you're gonna get into a downward dog and you're gonna think it's a push-up. And so you're gonna be using all the muscles, right? If I'm not in like this kind of shape, I just wanna just use my muscle. I'm tricep pressing this shit out, right? Think about it. Everybody here who lifts, all of y'all, right? And if you've never done any kind of like, there's yoga, but there's also like, have you ever heard of Systema? Systema is kind of like it's kind of a Christian yoga that was developed by Russian martial artists who are like Orthodox Christian. Pretty crazy stuff. It's kind of like yoga in that you learn how to exert strength in a soft way. So if you could take a bodybuilder, even if he's a flexible bodybuilder, put a bodybuilder into a downward dog. You take some skinny vegan yoga hippie and put him in a downward dog, that skinny hippie is going to be there like yawning, like, what's the big deal, buddy? Not strong enough to hold the downward dog. He's going to think he's special. Well, he's developed a skill. First of all, the bodybuilder doing the downward dog is probably not breathing. That's the most important part. And if he was breathing, the actual muscles will start to relax. And then you might wonder, how is he holding that position for so long? It's because he's not flexing. He's not burning out his ATP and creatine phosphate pathways. He's just resting on his ligaments and his tendons and breathing. Just breathing free. Just chilling. Downward dog. Just like my Malinois, right? My devil worshiping dog. So back to the pause deadlift. When I'm there, even if it's just for a second or two, I make an effort to maintain good posture, good form, right? Without like collapsing, but at the same time, breathing free through it, right? Because you're developing a skill when you do that. So what else? Any other reasons? Oh, well, yeah, what muscles are being stimulated and worked in that pause? So when you have your center of gravity over your base of support, right? So that's what a deadlift is. Your center of gravity is back here, and the center of gravity is where the barbell is in your hands. Your base of support is back here. So your center of gravity over the base of support, you have like a boom, like a lever arm, right? And so your body becomes like a boom, and the hinge is right here. You have to have a strong core. Strong and balanced core. Feels good. And then you gotta breathe. Anyway, playing with myself on video. So you gotta have a balanced core too, because if your hip flexors or your psoas really is what you want to call it, because it's not just a hip flexor, it's a trunk flexor too in a way. It ties into your spine, it crosses everything there. You're gonna have back problems. You're gonna be like, oh, my back hurts while you're doing that pause deadlift. So make sure you're using those abdominals and breathing, bro. Breathe into your balls. Done.